Guys good back there? Edgar?
Yep.
Okay. Multitasker. I love it. First and foremost, just what a great experience we had this past weekend, and what a great win it was for all the Gators out there, and that game means so much to so many, and I thought our guys, after watching it, really played hard, and they played with a purpose. They didn't get distracted by some of the things that go on. I thought they played the game the way it should be played. To hold them defensively the way we did, and that was impressive. And, took advantage. I thought offensively, sputtered at times, no doubt about it, but there was not for, lack of effort and energy. We ran the ball. I think we finally had a few explosive runs, which are really going to help you, and it's something we've talked about that we need to continue to do. It'll be interesting to see as we go into this week where we're at. I think our special teams showed up. I think, other than the kicking part of it, our coverage units did an outstanding job, and let's not kind of forget field position and how you win football games. I think our field position and what we did as far as making them earn most of the yards that they needed to get from long distance, I think that's huge. So my hat's off to our football team, the way they approached it, the way they played the ball game, and the way they handle this week is really going to be interesting to me, because we've got, obviously, with homecoming, a ton of distractions from the standpoint of people coming back, no school on Friday, all that kind of stuff. To me, this is an opportunity to see how far we've come as an organization. And it's become more than just getting your belly rubbed at this point. Let's call it the way it is. We got an opportunity to go win a ball game and solidify us being in Atlanta. And that's the way it should be. That's why you come to the University of Florida. And yet we have obstacles ahead of us in how we prepare, how we go about our business, how we handle. This will be really good. It'd be good to see. We've got some seniors that have had a long spell, and we've had a bunch of guys that have been on this football team 2 years ago that played these same guys, I think, in a homecoming. That probably didn't come out real favorable for the Gators. So, there's a lot of things there. And for a lot of reasons, there's a lot of reasons that we might not play good this week. We'll see. And, I'm excited to see our guys today. I just can't tell you how proud I am of them in what they've done to invest not only in themselves but in this football team and to this university. And I think that's a credit to those guys. And I think the seniors, I think they're the ones that we should take our hats off to, because, those guys are playing really hard. And I think it's about their opportunity to leave a legacy, to restore some order. I mean, the reason they came here was to play in games that mean something in November. And they're doing that. This team, Derek's done an outstanding job with this football team. When you look at 6 of their 7 opponents throw out Austin Peay, they've held the team to the least amount of production that team has ever had. I've known Derek for a long time. He's an old Big Sky Conference guy. He's a heck of a ball coach. Going back to watching his defenses, with him taking over defensively, watching his defenses in 2013, that whole season when he was at Stanford, you start to see some of those things are showing up on a regular basis now through this season. And when you look at how they're ranked nationally, 22nd in the country, I think it is, defensively, how their third down production, and really the one that stands out is people aren't scoring points. I mean, they're only giving up 18 a game, and they're really good in the red area. We've got our work cut out for us. And defensively, who knows? They've got, I guess, some injuries at quarterback, but you know what? Last week we didn't know who was going to play. So it really doesn't matter, is what I'm getting at. It has nothing to do with the opponent. It has to do with our preparation to get better. And, they've got a running back that is highly ranked in the SEC that obviously is from Gainesville, and a heck of a ball player, an all-around player. A guy can run the ball, he can catch the ball, and don't think he's not going to come in here with the attitude, guys, this is one that we can get done. So, we've got a lot ahead of us. And, no, we aren't looking towards Atlanta, because if we do, we won't get there. What we've got to do is we've got to look forward to today. And now, whether we do it or not, I don't know. I don't know if we're mature enough. I don't know if we understand the position we put ourselves in, but I do know what it is to get there and what it takes to get there. And what that simply is you got to focus on what you do to prepare yourself to go play the best you can at noon, 12:06, I believe, to be correct, is kickoff on Saturday, and that'll be a new experience for us. We did scrimmage in the spring and in the fall at noon. We tried to do practices and scrimmage simulations at all the different start or kick times that we would be in based on the SEC. So it is something we have done, and yet, guys, we played a bunch of later games and a couple 3:30 or late afternoon games. So this will be new. I don't know if our guys will handle it or not, but it's not like we haven't at least done it. And, there's some things we need to do to make sure. And I'm going to challenge the crowd now. The Swamp's been electric, and it's been awesome. But now let's make sure we stumble on into that stadium, and be ready for when we're hustling out of the tunnel, because we need all the support we can. And believe me, I think they will. This has been a great place to play. It seems like the last time we played here was last year sometime. And so I know we're really looking forward to playing at home. Injury-wise, beat you to it. Okay, probably the biggest issues we're going to have is, in the offensive line, David Sharp did something to his foot. He's in a boot. It's a big boot. He's a big guy. It's a big boot. And so he probably won't go. And Martez Ivy, his knee actually swelled up from that thing that he had earlier. So, what that means is Fred Johnson's going to have to play. Played in the last ball game, played pretty darn good. Obviously, Mace will move over to left if needed. And, having Dorsey back is really going to help us on the inside. So we've got some things we need to adjust up front, and yet that's all part of the game. I was really excited to see, some of the guys that came back. Jeremy Powell, I think, should be able to go. I'd just put him as questionable right now. The week will show, but I don't think that'll be a major part at all. Joey Ivy's a guy who played a heck of a ball game. With that, after having to sit out the LSU game, I thought he really played well, as did a lot of guys. But that should be it for us from an injury standpoint. So, you know what? We're in good shape. And whoever lines up at the offensive line, they'll do a heck of a job, and be excited for them to play. Questions?
Yeah,
sorry,
Coach.
Edgar. They were starting to hand microphones out. I was on his tail about not having microphone hander
I
outers.
raised my hand.
Now we got them from everybody. I mean, what is this? This is unbelievable. tell you what.
I hadn't even raised my hand, but I'll
Okay.
adjust here. This, where did you get the philosophy that you just keep reiterating on, just to avoid letdowns, just taking things one day at a time, making sure? I mean, did you always have that, or were you taught that along the way?
Well, it goes back probably to, growing up. And, and I even think about even like when I graduated from college and, asked if, my folks would be there. And they were like, well, that's what you're supposed to do. I mean, what's the big deal? It's instilled along the way that it doesn't matter what the task is. It's what you're supposed to do. Go out and do your job. And been around some great coaches. Obviously something that Nick, I think, does an outstanding job of is you can't get too high and you can't get too low. You got to understand you've got to take care of what you can take care of now, because whatever the event is, whatever that is, you're preparing for success. And our guys have kind of understood that. And yet, if there's a game, let's face it, if there's a game that probably will test that more than anything, will be this one. And because there's a lot of clutter out there, there's a lot of white noise out there, there's a lot of stuff that means absolutely nothing. And I'll be excited to see how they handle it. That's part of the growing experience.
And Treon certainly is coming up with some plays. We spoke about sustaining drives and with his feet and his arm. Though, do you need to get more efficiency out of this passing game?
Well, I thought he probably threw it pretty efficient in that, the game before, and yet, there's some times, and guys, let's face it, those two pass rushers they had, I mean, that was one really good defense. I mean, let's not sugarcoat that at all. And, I think they created some pressure in the pocket. Some of it he may have created himself by the way he moved in the pocket, maybe pressed into it a little bit. But I think one of the things that showed up to me is on the Callaway touchdown, we work a scramble drill in Skelly when we go good on good every week. And I'll be darned if that wasn't tailor-made for the exact reason we do the drill. So was I surprised by the reaction and guys getting in the right spots and filling the lanes on the boundary once Treon scrambled? Absolutely not. That's what's expected because we practiced it. And, that shows me that, we're starting to get it.
Just in terms of completion percentage, though, I mean, what's your...
Well, it's not good. I mean, Shaquille O'Neal might have liked it for his free throw percentage, but here's the interesting thing. We're going to pick this apart, right? That's great. You got to do what you got to do. I think at the end of the day, I don't know, we were on the right side of the scoreboard, and we did what it took to win the ball game, and that's how we go into every ball game is go in it to win it.
Can you talk about the challenges of playing a noon game? I mean, even though you practice it was way back in the spring, and it's obviously a totally different animal when you got to get up that early.
Yeah, it is different. There's no doubt about it, especially when you're accustomed to those later ones. So, some of the things we're going to do is, like I say, we try to simulate as many things that can happen within a season. So and our guys ask, well, why do we do this? Well, that's the reason we did that, was to prepare. Now, that was a while ago. So why are we going to have everybody up at breakfast at 8 o'clock every morning over here, starting Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday? Because that's 4 hours before kickoff, and that's what we eat pregame at. So getting their bodies, their understanding exactly what that is, we try to do those things to prepare them for whatever it's going to be, the test. And in this case, one of the questions on the test, or can you answer at noon? I don't know. We'll see. But there are certain things we'll do along the way to make sure they understand what it is.
Also, you're 10th right now in kickoff returns, and there's been one decent kickoff return all year. Is that Is there thought about putting somebody else back there, or is it really a blocking issue?
No, no, not at all. And we'll still be aggressive with it, and we're close. We've got, last week we come up inside with our lead guy, and we probably got another home run. So we just got to keep working it. And it's not something I'm real excited about, but, what are we, 100th in kicking probably, too? I don't know, so. That's not good. And yet, you go out and do your job, man. That's what it's all about. Doesn't matter what it is, so.
Jim, kind of going off what Edgar asked and kind of your mindset and how you got that way, in big games and just when the moments where there's maybe coaches could feel a lot of pressure or get uptight, you seem to be real loose and excited to be in those moments. How did you get that way, and then how does that, you think, affect, carry over to your players and the way they play?
I just, if the game's on the line, I always wanted the ball, because you had an opportunity to affect it, whether it was going to be to pass it to the open guy or whether it was going to be whatever, take a shot. I don't know, shoot the free throws, whatever it is. I just think it's, man, sometimes we get so uptight about stuff when, guys, guys would just relish to be in that moment. And I just think you should enjoy it and embrace it because it doesn't happen all that often. So, I tell you, I'll be straight up, I was a little nervous about our guys. A little bit. They seemed maybe a little flat during warm-up. But what I realized is they've understood the focus part. You don't have to jump up and down and yap, at your opponents and do all that crap. Excuse me, I can't say that, can I? Sorry, strike that from the record. But what you got to do is you got to prepare yourself mentally to do your job. And I really felt we did that.
And then with the success of the run game against Georgia, how much do you attribute that to the bye week and how much you guys worked on it, and what's the key to sustaining that success moving forward?
I think a little bit. We really challenged our guys up front, and we challenged our running backs to match their footwork with the O-line in the run game. We have not done a very good job of that. We've been too fast to the hole at times, too slow to the hole at times, and that's all matching up what they do up front, understanding if it's gun offset, if it's pistol, if it's under center, the match of that has to be the same. Sometimes it happens. We haven't been consistent with it. It's something that we hammered on, as I talked about. What we do in the bye week has nothing to do with that next opponent. It has to do with studying ourselves. What can we do to get ourselves better? We got extra time to do that. And I thought our coaches did an outstanding job of answering some of the things that we need to get better at. And believe me, there's a ton of them. So we'll continue to grow.
Mark, over to the left. Did you actually know that Harris and Shaq were pretty close in their percentages?
Is that what it pretty close?
52.4 for Treon and 52.7 for Shaq.
So I really disrespected Shaq because he's better. So I get it. I apologize for that.
Not to try to be negative here, but isn't it?
Oh, come on. There's the disclaimer. So you are going to be negative. Just go ahead and
this is
say
a
it.
positive.
All right, go ahead.
Don't you feel like it's fairly amazing that you guys are in this position where you're at, given the deficiencies that you guys have, kicking game, run game, O-line?
Well, I think you look at it, I think the one thing you do as an organization is you figure out your positives, and you try to play to those. And it doesn't matter whether it's, in what we eat at meal, whether it's the bus we take, whether it's the flags on the poles out there, on the goal, those to me are things that you can control. And your expectation of going out and winning and figuring out a way to do it. I think our team has done that a little bit. And, I don't ever look at them as really negatives. I look at them as, okay, this might happen, so what's the answer? You can sit and cry over it, or are you just going to figure out somebody needs to step up, and we had some guys step up?
Okay, and then this is positive. This Callaway cat, it's like every single week.
Not a
something-
bad player, is he?
No, he's
If I
pretty
could
good.
get him to eat his crust on his
Yeah.
peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, I'm working on that. But maybe there's something to that. Maybe I ought to cut
think
the
we should
crust
all
off
cut
of
'em off,
everybody's. Yeah, that
Absolutely.
might be the way to go.
Yeah.
We might be the messed up ones, right? Yeah.
It ceased to amaze you, like every week that he's turning in one big play or two big plays or more?
You know, he's like, he goes about his business the way it's supposed to be done. You don't see him, he's consistent. He wants to be good. It's important to him. This team is important to him. And as a lot of guys on our team. But I just, does it amaze me? No. You know, he was off kilter in the Missouri game. Let's face it. We talked about that, had some things going on. Well, that's all part of focusing on the now, and I think he's really done that. Hey.
With Jordan Cronkite being suspended for the first half against Vanderbilt, what are your thoughts about, you know, the targeting call, and is there an appeals process you look into?
No, and first and foremost, it's a great rule. Okay, it's helped, I think, the game in a positive way, and you can see less and less of them. You know, that first year it was like it was an epidemic. Well, guys are learning how to teach the rules and fundamentals of the game. You know, in that case, defenseless player, our guy was hustling, their guy was hustling. He hit him a little high. It wasn't malicious, but it's the rule, okay? So I look at it as a teachable moment, okay? And, you know, so myself, I think the rules are great. And guys are learning how to tackle properly. You know, you see what we do out there in our tackling. Now, not that we tackled anybody against Tennessee, all right? We still haven't tackled them, all right? And it drives me nuts, okay? We still haven't. You had to bring up tackling, didn't you? I didn't mean to. Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. But with that being said, I think it's a good rule, and it's helping football, and guys are learning how to fundamentally do it right, get their head out of the play, and you know, now the fact they can review it, and you know, the penalty, you know, can be overturned, all that kind of stuff. I mean, that's good. It's good for the game of football.
Jesse over here to the right.
Well, here's a positive on tackling, Coach. Obviously, linebacker depth has been an issue all season. So just how impressed are you with the consistent play of Davis and Morrison,
Oh, I'll tell
especially
you,
over the
those
last
two
month?
guys. You know, somebody ought to do, truly should do a story on this Morrison guy. Okay, and I mean a real one, because the guy shouldn't be there. Let's call it the way it is. Okay? And what he has done to invest not only in himself, but then to affect the people around him, and coupled with Jared, right there, those two guys are the heart and soul of this defense, and in a lot of ways are the heart and soul of this program, because they go about their business the way it should be done. You know, there was a time there on Vernon's interception where, and I just talk about how far we've kind of come, where, you know, a guy for them was hustling and kind of threw at the back of Antonio's legs. And, you know, his response before would have been not real good. And yet, he didn't panic. He reacted the right way, and he came back and made an unbelievable play the next time they were out there. So there's some real positives along the way with those guys. Randy's doing an outstanding job with those guys, but here's the thing. Their ability to make plays are because of what the guys up front and on the back end are doing. And it truly is a team defense. And they aren't, so far, our guys aren't stat hungry. The stat that they care about is the scoreboard. And as long as you do that, you have a chance to play championship football.
Mark in the back to the left.
Coach, you mentioned Joey Ivy earlier. Can you talk about him, where he's at now with his development, and kind of give him an assessment on him?
Well, what's really good, I think, what he's asked to do and what he's been able to do just complements the whole scheme. And you talk about another guy that truly cares about this university and this program, the way he goes about his business and what he's been through personally is something that's not easy. And I think what says a lot about him as well is the big picture and what he's done to give up himself for some other people outside of the game of football. I think is that to me is the measure of how, you know, his greatness.
Thomas over to the left.
You talked about the linebackers. Is Jeremy Powell kind of the unsung guy in that group?
Yeah, and he's a guy we need in there. You know, we become kind of thin. DMAC did some really good things in the last game. There were some times in that ball game where we might have got stuck in some nickel that normally you would have been in regular because of that. And yet, you know what, we just seem to adapt. Going into this game, this is a team, you know, Andy Ludwig, their offensive coordinator, known a long, long time. He's another old Big Sky Conference guy, just like Derek. You know, he came from Wisconsin. He has Boise State background. He's a guy that understands shifts, motions, and running power football as well. Obviously, in Derek's case, what they did at Stanford is, I think, what they kind of are looking to become. So this really puts a premium on our guys up front and our ability to get those extra guys in the box. So it'll be interesting to see.
And then if you don't have Sharp and Ivy for this game, what does that kind of put on the younger guys that have played some already this year?
Well, it's next man up, and they'll do a great job. And they'll get more reps in practice, obviously. And they'll go to work and help us win a ball game. Anything else? All right, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks.